Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Jake Travis from the Hoggatt project. Yes, again, we have decided it is time to link up for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. This will be epic as always. Well, now that that has been taken care of and I am fully replenished, it is once again time for Jake and myself to take a walk into the darkness and the madness.
Stood up. I said, oh my god, it's a werewolf, and everybody in the car freaked out.
My creatures of the night, yes, you again have found your way through the darkness and the werewolf and dogman infested forest and into the fox den for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. Jake Travis from the Hoggatt Project. Yes, he is a bi-weekly co-host, and you should be aware of who he is, has decided to set up the late night fire so that we can burn the timber in an attempt to figure out the madness that is occurring. Jake, how the heck you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty all right. How you doing?
Excellent to link up again, and busy like yourself, but just grinding away. What the heck you been up to, bro?
Yeah, I've been grinding away too, just doing, little house projects and getting out and filming. And I'm actually right now I was pretty excited. I ordered some geeky new gear because when you're editing your videos, I started to notice like a lot of this audio like vibrations happening when you pick up the camera and walk to a new place, or even when you step around the tripod, it like just picks up everything. So you can try to like fix that in post by cutting out the low end, I've heard, but it's like I pretty much bought this cage that suspends the microphone using rubber bands, so we'll see if that makes it any better. So
that's cool stuff. And yeah, all the great things, but also people don't realize the little small things you got to deal with behind the scenes to make things, function properly. Because I used to do a ton of acting and like short films and like B films. And I just realized how much really goes into that. And it wasn't fun anymore because I always am so intrigued. I have such a great imagination and such, but I enjoy creating that stuff, but I don't enjoy being really so much on the other side of the camera. Like, it takes away the fun of it because when you're watching something, you're like, wow, that looks so cool. But then you just realize all the props and everything and the cuts, the takes, and it's just not as fun as it is watching it. So yeah, and same thing now with editing, like you were saying. I always pick up when I rumble my words or slur my words, so I have to correct that, which is something you can't always do when you go live. And I mean, at some point when I can go live all the time, or more consistently, because I'm not going to go live all the time, well, I can't really correct when you slur your words. But I have what I call a WWE butt buster chair, man, and I can't sit in that thing for too long. So I don't have the best setup just to go live always. Like right now, I'm just sitting here standing talking to you, man, and that's usually what I do. And I also have to get my nieces to like help color my hair up and stuff. It's not as easy as I would like it to be at the moment, you know?
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's like I watch these tutorials about lighting, like 3-point lighting.
Mm-hmm.
It's essential for a good look, and all these like really advanced techniques to get something that looks natural. And they're like, that's the trick, is you want to do everything you possibly can to get this look, but you don't want the viewer to know that you did all of it. You just want it to look natural. And so whenever I'm out there and I get something that looks good naturally, I'm like, oh man, that's awesome. Like I didn't have to do anything. I just had to stand in the right spot.
Yes, that's so true, man. And people just don't realize how hard it is, like you said, to just get quality footage in general, but any sort of like, epic image, like per se, all these National Geographic like posters. I mean, those people sometimes were out there for years waiting to get an image like that. It's not like you said, you just get these perfect shots all the time. I mean, every once in a while I get lucky with something that I don't have to nerf too much or play around with. But yeah, I mean, there's always stuff. And recently I saw a sick setup. I don't know if it's a drone or what, but you literally just get all these sick angles of yourself that you can then set up afterwards and click it all together. I didn't see a drone. It was claiming it was just some sort of camera, but it would get all at the back shots of you and everything. It was pretty insane.
Yeah, I've got a 360 camera that I used, and that's the one. And you can make it look really bad, or you can make it look really good. It's a lot of stuff you do in post, but yeah, like guarantees if you miss something from a certain angle that it picked it up, but it has its limitations. It's like for close setup. Okay. So if something's too far away, then you're not gonna get good quality if you try to zoom in on it. But yeah, it was fun. It was just a pain to edit, and then I had a few people say that it made them dizzy and they didn't like it, and I was like, all right, I don't have to go through all the editing of that. Then I'll just use the other camera. But yeah, true. I'm starting to get the audio. I'm realizing when you let the audio recorder run at night, like while I'm sleeping, I might pick up certain things that are in the campsite and stuff like that. And yeah, that's just the audio. But yeah, if I wanted to get the video, that's where the next step is I could just try to point it towards one direction. And then if the audio picks something up, maybe it walks in front of the camera, but I'll have it on audio. So that's kind of where I'm at now, where it's like maybe I set up the 360 camera for that, but it's not really meant to see in the dark. So yeah, it's like audio right now is totally fine, but if I got the video, that would make it that much better.
Yeah, I could totally see that for sure. And like you said, I could also see how that could make somebody potentially dizzy too, but it did look cool. But also, yeah, I guess that's all, what do they say? Someone's cup of tea or something like that. Some people like creativity, which is what I'm all about. I guess other people like things that are more simplified, but it's like I said, always just be yourself, never change your brand or who you are unless you trust the people that are around you that have made quality suggestions, you know what I mean? And I mean, I'm not saying don't change things, but I'm just saying if creativity is part of who you are, then I mean, I'm an artist per se. I'm not going to ever dim down my creative artwork and such to make my channel generic, because that's not who I am.
Oh yeah, that's well said. Yeah, because I didn't think I would ever go for the 360 camera, because when I saw like it first come out, it kind of just had this fishbowl look to it. And then you start seeing other people know how to edit it because it was new, so people were figuring it out. And then I'm part of a review program that it got offered up in my queue, and I was just like, oh, I guess I'm gonna get one. and so then I learned all about it. I actually used it for a real estate project, so that was I think that's where they shine, because you can do like a 360 virtual tour. So yeah, it has its place, and I had fun with it, and that's why I was like, I am being myself, because I'm genuinely excited about trying to figure it out and see how I can improve my videos. And then, when it falls to the wayside, that tends to happen. Same with lenses and cameras, and then you circle back around to it and say, like, whatever happened to this thing? Do I still want to keep it? And take it out for another adventure and see how it does. So that's kind of where I am too. I'm testing out all my old lenses and stuff again.
Beautiful stuff right there, and you should. I mean, technology and creative aspects, people can look at it as two ways. And I mean, I use it as a tool where some people are like, how, as an artist, are you okay with AI? Well, because with how much I have to do with editing, making my own music with my friends, doing my artwork and things, I can't hand draw everything. I don't have time for that. So yes, it is a beautiful tool. It's no different than somebody complaining that a pen with a feather, like my buddy Steve Stockton was saying, is so much better than, well, the new age pen. It doesn't work like that. I mean, no one ever went back to using a feather as a pen. And it's okay. It's no different than, a sword, correct? Well, swords are useful and can be used for many things, but we've advanced to firearms that have things that project out of them. That's, again, advancement. I mean, you can still keep your sword, but you're putting yourself at a huge disadvantage, more or less, by not working with technology, if that makes sense,
Yeah. Sometimes I've learned that because I was after that whole like, oh, I need the latest and greatest and chasing after everything, that I was like, I'm going to get that specific look. And then once I've got it, that's all I'm going to do. And it doesn't work that way, because once I did get it, I was excited. And then I was like, all right, I gotta switch this back up. You can't just keep on the same thing. So putting limitations in place is actually a good thing. I believe is, just say, oh, well, this, like I used a lens the last trip I went on, and I bought it because of the flares that it has. It has these crazy looking flares. But now when I have to use it for a long period of time in the dark where you have your headlamps going, it gets annoying. It gets annoying quick. And so during the editing process, I was like, oh, here we go with another flare. And you got to cut a lot of it out. So I'm like, you got to balance. You got to find a good balance between them.
Yes, preach, my friend. And what have you been up to in general? Have you been up to anything new, or you do have some pretty interesting stuff that you had mentioned that was occurring? If you would like to dive into that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, sure. I went out 2 weeks in a row, and I was going to go out for a third week, but I got bogged down with some stuff. But the first one, it was like a gear review test. It went really well. And it was like a little backpacking trip. And then the last one, I decided to go back to a place when I was 15 years old. I think I told the story on here where a friend and I were walking down this road, and we had like some bottle rockets. And so we're lighting those off. And then as I lit a fuse, he had said, hold up, stop, and I couldn't stop because it already lit it. So it just, and then after that, I go, what? And he goes, listen. And then back by the water's edge through the woods, about 150 feet or so, there was a sound of like a baby rattle. And you're just thinking, here in the dark, back in the woods, a baby rattle, what the heck? And then, less than 5 seconds goes by, maybe only a couple. And then now it's at the edge of the woods, and it's that same sound. And that's when, he took off running, and then I took off running after him. He's faster, but we both got out of there. So anyway, that was 25 years ago. And here I am, opportunity to go back and film. And during the day, you know, there's a spot that I used to fish all the time, so it's not really spooky. It was just something that happened, like a one-off deal. I've never had anything else other than seeing a cougar down there really happen that kept me away. But, you know, here I am. I got a hammock to test out and an underquilt, and it's 32 degrees. And I'm like, yeah, why not? If I got the underquilt, this is my first time hammock camping, but people seem to do it, and I should be all right. And so that was the plan. I went down there. My brother wanted to partake, so he joined me, and we built a fire and just hung out by the water's edge. And there is some houses across the lake. I looked it up. It's like, I believe the lake is almost 50 acres large. So we're on one side, these where the bog is, so you can't build on this side where the road takes you. But the other side, there is some houses that are over there. And you can kind of see that they're lit up, and you're hearing some strange stuff going on throughout our time there. But then after everything kind of settles down and it's we had just gone for a hike around 11 p.m. It was probably 10:30 because by the time we got back, I set up the hammock. He had stuck around and just kept the fire going. And then after I got done, took like 45 minutes to set up the hammock. We're standing around the fire. So now it's 11:30 at night, and we just start to hear these geese just probably only, I'd say 100 yards at most from where we're at on the water, where we just came from on our hike an hour prior to that. They just start going wild, you know, and you're like, okay, listening to them. And the next thing you know, I'm hearing like, we're hearing like some thrashing going on in the water, where it didn't sound at all like the geese flapping their wings and hitting the water. It sounded like something had picked it up and started slamming it from side to side. And it was like just the craziest noise where, you know, I luckily had my phone on me, and I was just filming in the dark trying to get the audio. And my brother was like, did you hear? What is that? What the heck is, you know, we're both kind of freaking out. I was like, quiet. I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to get the audio. And I think I got some good clips of it that I'm going to throw in my next video. But man, that was, it kind of like reminded me of what a crocodile would do. Like it would, you know, crunch down on its prey, and then it would just start rolling and thrashing in the water. It's like reminded me of that, or something with hands picked it up and just started swinging it side to side. And then it was like the other geese were doing, all they could think to do was just be loud and kind of squawk at whatever took their friend. But yeah, so that lasted for a few minutes, and then afterwards I decided to stay there and camp. And my brother took off. He was like, well, I'm gonna go. It's like, all right, well, I gotta stay here to test the hammock out. So and I made it through the night, and I recorded some audio, about 3 to 4 hours worth. And you hear a lot of strange stuff because I just got done listening through it all. But because of the area, it's hard to tell. You know, you hear a lady screaming. You're like, well, there's houses that could be coming from someone's house. You hear a train. You hear vehicles that are ripping by in the distance, and then you can hear like things in the water right next to where I'm at and in my camp. So there's a lot of activity at that place, I will say. But it was quite the experience. So what do you think that could have been?
Dang, that's some pretty creepy stuff right there for sure. And before I totally respond to that, do you still not have anything to quote unquote protect yourself with, man?
No, I got bear spray, I got a handgun, got a rifle, knives. You know, I got tons of stuff, perimeter line that goes off and things like that. But honestly, when you're like trying to pack everything that it takes to do these trips, it's like every little thing counts. So I always take a knife, and then I choose between like the handgun or the bear spray. And I've been gravitating towards the bear spray because it's lighter. But yeah, I haven't had anything like come up and start attacking me yet. But yes, I definitely have some protection in that way. It's like, it's something, but yeah, I haven't had to see how well it holds up yet.
All right, that's good at least, because I was going to say that myself and some of my science team have come up with a pretty good solution for people that do not want to potentially fatally harm something or carry a firearm, or they can't. If you take a super soaker and you fill it up with lemon juice, all right, and you put
Okay.
a little bit of salt in there too, all right, and you spray that in anything's face, dude, whether it's a person coming at you, a giant bear. I mean, yeah, that's not going to be good. And that's going to give you plenty of time to get away. And a super soaker has some pretty good distance. And yeah, I mean, if something per se has extensive senses like a dogman or a cougar or something, and you spray lemon juice in their nose, their mouth, and their eyes, yeah, that's not going to be good. And you can even put some cayenne pepper in there too. So it's
Oh
something
yeah, that'll do it.
yeah, you just put a little bit of up in there, but yeah, you take some lemon juice, a little bit of salt and cayenne pepper, man, and that's something that will, yeah, protect you as well. So
Yeah, I like that idea. Just that way I can keep something small, but uh, totally will defend me.
yeah, and you're not gonna, like I said, I mean, for people that can't carry or don't want to carry firearms or don't want to unalive something, yeah, but I don't encourage any of y'all to go try this on something. But yeah, I mean, come on, like my buddy Brian Barber and I were saying, I mean, he's a pretty large guy, but if I sprayed him in the face with lemon juice with cayenne pepper and salt, he said he would be down for quite a long time. And then even if he had water and such, which most likely isn't going to be around him, yeah, that would be an extensive amount of time before that person or thing regained its total senses.
Yeah, yeah, and there was, I have a lot of crazy dreams when I'm out there, so that's another reason I started recording the audio to see if whatever I thought was out there that I didn't know was a dream, if it was really in the audio recording. But at one point, yeah, there was like, I felt something brush up underneath me, and I thought it was like a wild boar coming through. So to get my bag, because I had my bag underneath the tarp, underneath the hammock, and I was like trying to elbow it through the hammock.
Dang, man. All I can
Yeah,
think
but
about is Dog Soldiers, dude, or that tent at the beginning, man, and just how it's only a piece of fabric between whoever is in the tent and whoever isn't. And I can't remember if it was yourself or somebody else was saying that. No, it was my scientist, William White, that one of my scientists who used to love sleeping in tents all the time, but now he says that he just after all he knows, he can't just sleep in a tent with just the fabric anymore. So I could see, yeah. And then, like in Dog Soldiers, this thing unzips it and just, I don't know, nightmare feel.
yep, it's not for everybody, and I'm questioning if it's for me these days.
I mean, I really hope I would never be in that situation. But the more I think about it, like I said, I saw something where the tiger was right on this person or this woman I had mentioned had, this bear with its whole head. I mean, its whole mouth around her head. She could smell its terrible breath, just all of that. But that's horrific. But just think if you're in that situation as it opens its mouth and you unload some nice, good old super soaker lemon juice with the stuff we put up in that. Yeah, it's going to stop real quick, I feel like.
Yeah, that's if when it attacks you, you're not sleeping or away from the stuff. But yeah, because I'll sleep through like I hear the audio recorder noises going off the trains, and I'm just snoring away. I don't care.
That's so funny. And to answer your question now, I mean, from what you said, it seems like it had to have been potentially the sound of something that was using hands more or less. So, I mean, I don't know. Did you feel like it was in some of the Sasquatch territory that you have had and potential encounters in, or do you feel like it could have been a person as well? I mean, don't get me wrong, we've already talked about that and you've had that experience. So there are people out there. A person could have done that as well. And yeah, maybe could it, do you think, been a Dogman? I mean, with the vocalizations you said you heard, do you think it was just the geese flipping out, or do you think it had something to do with the predator per se that was, coming to dispose of them?
Yeah, because I've seen geese that fly into a spot and they're just squawking away for no reason, right, at each other. But this was just like everything was quiet, and then all of a sudden they start going berserk, and then you can hear that smash, smash is almost like the sound of a rug. Like if you took a area rug and you went down and smacked it on the water, that's a good analogy. That's what it sounded like. So it's like, dang, like something with some force was really trying to knock this. And so I'm just imagining one of the geese was too close to the land, and something on the land got it, and then that was thrashing it. Like if it was a cougar and it grabbed it by its neck and its mouth, maybe it swings it from side to side and hit it in the water. But I would imagine a cougar would just snag it and then retreat back to the land. I don't think it would sit there and smack it in the water, but that's why it was very interesting to hear. And the fact that we had just hiked down to the end of the road and it's all overgrown, and we still like hiked back as far as we could go, trying to get to the edge of the water that way. So it was right there where it happened.
Wow. That's some pretty gnarly stuff. And as I'm thinking about it, I mean, all right, the only predatory things, a cougar is going to go for the neck, and I don't really think they're about water too much. I know jaguars are and such, but either way, that could be the flapping of the wings as the thing was struggling. But the cougar is going to go for the neck. A bear is going to pin it down and start eating it. So I don't know if you're going to hear the flapping of the wings. And the only other thing is I could potentially see maybe a Sasquatch grabbing it, right? And then just slamming it back and forth. Maybe if it was an adult, it would have just ripped its head off. But if it was a juvenile or something, and it was not fully in control
playing
of
with
the situation, slamming it back and forth on the water to then bam, 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 dispose of it. Doesn't really seem like something potentially a Dogman would have done. Again, I think it would have just ripped it apart. And I don't know, that seems like a Sasquatch or a human type thing. Like either a person was disposing of it like that, or maybe a juvenile Sasquatch. Because like I said, the only other thing is the flapping of the wings, as maybe a fox or something grabbed it. But again, I don't really think foxes enjoy water the most. Wolves have no problem going in the water. Do you have wolves in your area?
I think there has been some wolves. They're very rare, but they are out here. But the flapping, I'll when I put the video together, I'll try to do my best to bring out that noise, and you'll be like, oh, that is not flapping of the wings. That is something torturing this thing. And so it could have been a sadistic human being, like just saying, I'm gonna just swing this thing by its neck against the water and teach all its friends not to come back here or something. I don't know, but my brother also did he has a sighting that happened not that far from that area, not in that specific spot, but within half a mile of that area. So Sasquatch totally sounds like it could be that, or a sadistic human, but there's only one way into this place, and we went for a hike, checked out all the overgrown areas. There was nobody else down there, so it's a good thing to always do whenever you're doing stuff like this. Just see who's in your vicinity. Mm-hmm. So if something does happen, you're like, oh yeah, that could be that other guy over there or whatever. So the only other thing, if it was a human that we didn't see, is they could have been hiding from us, or there was one other trail that goes deeper into the bog, and we didn't take that trail this time, but it does lead off somewhere like it deeper on, and I think connects to another house from another side. So there is the potential that somebody came through or was hiding that we didn't see, but yeah, it was pretty crazy. And then the crazy thing is that I didn't even like bat an eye twice of I better get out of here. I'm freaked out. It's like, no, I got to review this hammock. I don't want to have to come out for another trip. I'm doing it now.
As you hang it up in your room. Yeah, this thing was great. Yeah, that's pretty messed up. And the only reason I just mentioned person is, I don't know, that's just something maybe a survivalist could be doing for their video or something, or I don't know, just trying to get food for themselves. Because I mean, I've seen Dave Canterbury with Cody Lundeen just run up on a turkey and just start beating it off the tree real quick and then just, yeah, disposed of it. That's just why I thought maybe that's the only two options is seemingly a Sasquatch or maybe a person. But yeah, definitely keep me posted as you are able to gather some more information on that. And well, as we are getting a little bit towards the end here, because yes, Mr. Travis has things he needs to attend to. I have a really interesting encounter I'd like to kind of get your thoughts on and, well, see if you are aware of this area. And honestly, I'm probably going to butcher this because it is definitely seemingly a Native American based word, but let's do this. So September 16th, 2023, 6:30 a.m., State Road 141, Mount Baker, Snoqualmie National Forest, Glacier, Washington State. Jake Hawthorne is driving westbound to a deer stand on his friend's property that is very isolated and that is owned by a retired farmer named Joe Bryson. As Hawthorne is driving his truck down an old unused logging road trail, he finds a spot up ahead to turn around and park his truck. Once parking the truck, Hawthorne hops out and heads over to his deer stand. As he is climbing the tree, he sees 4 deer bolting for their lives and barreling past him off into the forest. Baffled, Hawthorne finishes climbing the tree and begins sitting in his stand. Raising his binoculars to scan the area, he sees what looks to be a jet black, eerie, athletic, human-like canine creature with pointy ears, a large long muzzle, baby blue eyes, and male genitalia leaning against a tree with enormous raccoon hands as they were digging through what seemed to be dense underbrush. As it emerged fully from the underbrush, Hawthorne sees it has large, bent back, patchy, black hair and a long shaggy tail. It begins sniffing the air, and then the creature drops down onto all fours and bolts towards his hunting stand. As the creature gets a short distance away from Hawthorne, it decides to again stand up on 2 legs and begin sniffing the air, and started roaring intensely as if it was thinking, hey, I'm hungry, it's dinner time. Mortified, Hawthorne freezes like a statue up in his stand, and the strange dog creature walks by slowly underneath and then drops down onto all fours and off in the direction the deer ran over the hill. And before you respond to that, see, bro, that's why I like to not go live, man, because I'm friggin' burnt out from like brain power right now. But yeah, what do you think about that whole entire encounter?
Awesome. So yeah, the Mount Baker Snoqualmie Mountain Forest, that was where I went the most, and that's where I've had a lot of strange stuff happen. So yeah, that's I never seen anything like that. And but yeah, that freaked me out. And then yeah, it comes running at you and you're up in a tree and you're kind of, unless, well, I guess he's armed, I'd imagine, if he's up in a stand and he's a hunter. But but yeah, you're still like backed into a corner because if it starts coming up the tree, then you have nowhere else to go. But that's you're like you're acting different too because you're seeing something that just doesn't make sense. so, so I don't know if people like or like everybody's different, but who's gonna point and shoot at something they don't understand versus just like freeze up and say like, am I really seeing this?
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds about right. I've seen those deer too. Like when you see a deer in the wild and it's or you see like the ones you think of that are just all nice and pristine, looks like a nice deer. Like I've definitely seen the ones that they look diseased and they got patches all over and uh yeah, so that's what I'm imagining this creature looks like. Like he just he's not doing well, and he's rabid, and he's gonna attack you.
Right? That's some creepy stuff. And wow, I didn't even know you spent time up in there. I was just filtering through my encounters in my book and such and was like, hey, I know Jake's out in Washington. Let's see if he's heard of this one. And then boom, look at that. Being in that
Yeah.
area, then, do you feel like it could potentially be realistic for something like, per se, Sasquatch or Dogman to be out there and not be seen? I mean, I don't really know. It seemed like it was a heavily forested area.
Yeah, I can tell you one from that same mountain that is a reason why it probably couldn't be seen. Is my friend and we drove up. I'm trying to find this spot again because it was a pretty awesome spot where you had options. Like I want to say the road split and there was 4 roads at this intersection. The one you came up on, and then it has 3 different ways you can go. And we got to a point where the road kind of will go down into like a landing spot or a gully or just like kind of like a wide open grazing area you'd imagine like animals would go. But we tried going down there and it was just really rough, and the for a vehicle it was just too narrow. So we kind of turned around, went back up to the top, and decided to walk along the ridge, and so we could get a better view of the area from up top. And man, I hate when I do this, but I had binoculars on me, but for whatever reason didn't grab them. And you just grab things like, I don't know, I think we were into eating those ready meals that you just boil water and pour in, like something like that. And like, yeah, some water, a ready meal, and a backpack full of like some other random things. And then you just kind of go off on your way. And we probably hiked along this ridge for probably like a good half mile to a mile until we found like a good vantage point. And we're just kind of hanging out there and looking down in the area. And I just remember seeing this thing that looked like a black stump. And for whatever reason, I decided I wasn't going to let it out of my sight. I was just going to keep an eye on it because it was off near the edge of the vegetation. And you had your wide open grass area, so it was right near the edge. And I sat there and for what was probably in real time 10 to 15 minutes, because we were on a little break just hanging out there. And then it just stood up. I'm not even kidding. It was just like as if it got frustrated, like they're not going to go. I'm going to have to make my move. And it doubled in size. It stood up and it took 3 to 4 steps and just, disappeared. And I just remember thinking like, wow, it's not even that far away, but to my normal eyesight, it looked like a stump. So I wouldn't think anything of it. But yeah, so I totally saw something. And if it were a bear, I guess it's kind of like, why is it sitting there, and then why did it decide to stand up and walk away? Because it was a little bit out of range where you could make out the features of anything. I just saw it was something that stood up bipedal and took like 4 giant steps and then disappeared out of view.
Dang. pretty gnarly and creepy stuff right there for sure. I can only imagine, because I mean, I'm definitely an analytical type mind, but I just hear these gnarly things that occur to friends of mine. And I mean, that's the first thing that I heard from you was that encounter of the person in your camp, which made me want to reach out to you. So yeah, that's some pretty creepy and nightmare fuel based things for sure, dude. And before we let you get back to what you're doing, is there anything else you would like to touch base on? And is there any sort of projects or things that you're going to be pumping out here in the future that you want anyone to know about?
Yeah, there is that one that we talked about tonight. That's going to be, it's a hammock camp with my brother at that spot where I had the weird baby rattle encounter. And something happened again, like we talked about with the geese getting slammed into the water. That sounded like it had to have been like something grabbed it with hands. That's what I'm going to say. So it narrows it down to human or Sasquatch from what I can think of. So that's going to be coming out probably about 75, 80% done editing it. And then after that, I really wanted to go out because the weather is calls for it, is do like some kind of like hot tent adventure. So I don't know the location I'm going to head out to yet, but I do know I'm going to either test out a stove or a diesel heater, and that'll be, if I get up in the snow, that's another interesting thing, because then you can kind of see some tracks of whatever's been out there. So that should be coming up in the near future as well.
Listen to that. That's absolutely great stuff right there. And to the audience, make sure you go over and check out the Hoggatt Project's thread. Yes, because Jake has a lot of great stuff. If you're into outdoors and, like he just said, learning about just camping and how you can, modify things or what things are useful, man, you got a ton of great stuff to check out. And also, if you'd like to hear a little bit more, some nightmare things that have occurred to him throughout potentially his adventures in the wilderness, I mean, he's got that great stuff over there too. And if you like to really see people creating things and see their face and watch the journey that is unfolding, he's got great content. Make sure to go over and check it all out. As stated, I will have the links up in the description. And yeah, unfortunately though, this will be the conclusion of the meeting for the Midnight Society for the evening, because yes, the Hoggatt Project needs to go work on his own things, and also, yes, has to play a little home improvement as well, so he cannot eat up too much of his time. But no worries, as previously stated, you can just go over, watch his newer content, his older content, or you can watch the playlist where him and I have already done previous episodes. And, well, he'll be back again in a few weeks. Those are all pluses. But for now, yes, we do need to close the Midnight Society book for the early morning. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight, man. I always do appreciate you popping in, and you have great encounters, a great mindset as to what's occurring. You're out there. You're definitely important to what we're doing, which is another reason I wanted to bring you on board to my team and be a host, because, yeah, you definitely have some great stuff you're diving into, man. So I appreciate your time as always, bro.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I love hearing the new stuff that you're working on, and like that story, like I would never have known about it. So I'm glad you brought it to my attention. I'm going to be looking for that thing now. So thanks again, man.
My creatures of the night, I do adore every single one of you. And thank you for tuning in tonight. If you do enjoy my content, please like, comment, subscribe, share it, feed the algorithm, help me get monetized.